But in the back it said they're actually doing this in this association, and so I called or emailed or whatever. Turned out they were having a conference in Amsterdam. In 2 weeks, I was on that plane, and it was a fabulous experience and changed how I look at how I do this work. So you don't even need. How many people are working with organizations doing OD training, coaching? A few of you, okay. How many people are in an organization? And you sometimes want to change that organization. Okay, well then you're leader. Okay. Well, this, you don't even need to do a constellation. You just need to show up in the concept of this is a system, and it has different parts. And how can I harmonize those different parts so that this system works in a more productive, healthy way, an inclusive way? And how can I be more present to the things that are in me that may be activated by the system that I need to shift before I can be there for the system and help shift it, right? You can only do for others what you've done for yourself. And if we're blind, if we have blinders in certain areas in ourself, that use of self, we're not going to be much help to the larger system where it's blind. That's the key point of what we're going to talk about here. Can people relate to that? Mm-hmm. So there's no accident, whether you were there as an informal leader or a formal leader or as a consultant. There's no accident who you're working with or where you're working. It really isn't, And if we take this concepts with us to heart, then we're just going to be at a more effective place in order to if we have the desire, maybe that's why you're here in this room, you have the desire, wherever it came from, to make a difference, right? For things to work together, work better. It's for something, you want to see something happen, you want to see some change in the world, right? You have that desire, you have that calling, something whispering in your ear, and you feel you need to actualize that. But sometimes we keep stubbing our toe in the same place or falling in the same hole. And this is a great opportunity, if we take this viewpoint, to get out of that hole, to stop stubbing our toe, and to start making a difference first with ourselves and then with others. And there was it was on my mind, lost it here for a second, why is this? How does this, what's driving all this aspect of it? So for a long time, people have looked at leadership challenges, and they would say leaders are born, not made, or they're made, not born. They go back and forth in that dynamic. And if the recent research is very interesting in looking at this. They say about, I don't have the group that does it, but they do. They have assessments on leadership. They say about 60% of the population are advanced lateral thinkers. 60%. That means step A to step B. You do step A, you get step B. There's a sequence to things, how things work out, and what you do is what you see is what you get. And it's a very practical, oriented way of looking at the world. It's about 60%. Now, those 60% are looking at their piece of the puzzle and looking at the other pieces of the puzzle of the system and saying, what's wrong with those guys? That there's a trap that they can fall into because here's mine and it makes sense to me, and why doesn't it make sense to the others, right? There's the tendency, the trap to get caught in is I've got my work to do and I'm going to do it heads down, working away, and I'm not really paying attention to the impact that's having on other parts of the system. So that's the trap. What, from a leader, whether he's made or she is made or born, there's the ability to be a more systemic or systems thinking. That's the other 20-some, 25, 29%. To step out of that one space, this is my space, and look at what's going on here. What others are doing, what's the impact I'm having, what's the impact they're having, what's the conversation that needs to happen between this group and that group, between operations and sales, between accounting and service, between different departments. what needs to happen between them. That's a bigger picture, bigger order of thinking, and orientation towards the collective good, not just my good, but the collective good. And then at the very top, there's like a holistic thinking that thinks in a more integrated, holistic way, and it's even smaller percentage. The challenge is organizations now are so complex and so much is happening so quickly that the advanced linear thinking is overwhelmed. And if you've got a manager working that way, they are automatically in trouble. About a third, maybe, or less than a third, can take the bigger picture and stay up a little bit. But even now, it's not just one system that is happening here, and I've got to look at the different parts, but there's systems of systems, because of technology and because of the small world is smaller, and current events, and generational changes, and all this stuff is happening. So it's really overwhelming for all of us. And how do you simplify it? How do you put it in a context so that we can really make sense of what's going on and then intervene and act in some way? So I'll stop right here. Is this making sense what I'm saying? This is kind of setting the stage about what we're dealing with. And for you who are here in this room, who feel called, I hope, and I think, in some way, to help make sense of this and bring clarity. Okay, there's two things you're bringing to the system, or you're helping the system achieve. The first is very important, clarity. What the heck is going on? Where is this coming from? How do we move forward here? What's our roles and our agreements and our norms? That's the clarity. And then the commitment. One without the other doesn't add up to much. If there's no commitment, nothing's going to happen. Let other people do it. If there's no clarity, we can all commit it all day long, and we're going in 10 different directions. So those are the two things that at the end of your intervention as a consultant or a leader, that you want your group to have some clarity and mention that. So let me ask you. How many people are thinking, I want to work more in organizations? Okay, good. How many people read that article on the difference between family work and business work? People clear on that? Okay.
It was in the knowing field.
It was in the knowing field, and I think it was on the link. Should we talk about, before we go into the rest of the stuff, should we talk about some warnings to you? Take your if you're going to work with organizations, the organizational constellation, and its family or systemic constellation, maybe we ought to give you a little. Would you like a little warning about that? Or
Yes,
we'll talk about, okay. All right. Just not so much relevant for use of self, but
It'll soothe my survival system.
yes. Important. Okay. So let's say you've gotten all this experience, family constellation, and you're really pretty good at it. And the skills of looking at the family system and looking at the organizational system are one-on-one. They're very applicable. Very applicable. Before you go knock on the door, though, and say, hey, I'd like to do this constellation stuff for you guys, and I think it'd be really beneficial and help you understand yourselves and what's going on, and map what's going on so you can get some clarity and commitment. Understand that in organizational development, there is there's a continuity that when you step into the system, you are stepping into a place with people who have strong emotions, lots of judgments, are in survival mode, a lot of them are in survival mode, a lot of them fear, uncertainty, ambiguity. Otherwise, they wouldn't have called you to come. So, fear, uncertainty, ambiguity, lots of anger, lots of judgment. You go on and on. There's a lot of that going on. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. Now, that's good because passions are high and they're not going to fall asleep on you. However, in a public workshop, we can bring people together, we can do some constellations, and then we lead. And it's pretty much up to you to get the follow-on help you need to integrate whatever showed up out of your unconscious. And sometimes that's tough. And sometimes you don't need it, it just takes place on its own. But you're not gonna be working, or they're not in your family or in your daily life, right? So you're back off. Things are revealed, you're sitting there naked, right? Showing your life, but then people forget, they don't care, they got their life, and on you go. So it's, entry point and exit point are pretty clean and clear. In a work group, in a team, with the hierarchy of the boss and then everybody else, the entry point is highly fraught with challenges, and the exit point is highly fraught with challenges. Therefore, the consultant does a lot of work up here, pre-work, so he or she understands the issues and has agreements about what can be talked about and what can't. So it sets up some kind of barriers that allow safety, norms and standards and agreements that creates safety in the organization and understanding. You're not flying blind, you have a pilot just doesn't get in the plane, they file a flight plan, they look at the weather, the terrain, they do a lot, right, before they get in that plane and go. Same thing for you, you got a lot to do here. Whether you do the constellation or you bring somebody in, you have some pretty clear ideas about what your objective is and what you're looking to get insight into, and just how much depth you can go. Because if you really reveal what somebody's really thinking and feeling, that may put you in a very vulnerable place that has a great deal of ramifications. Stuff happens in a constellation that we can't predict. So you need to have a pretty good understanding of what you're trying to do there and the limitations you need to, how you need to structure that type of intervention. And maybe that's not the right tool, so you have a pretty big toolkit. You can bring someone in to run a constellation, or you do something different, real-time strategic change, affirmative inquiry. There's a bunch of different brand name tools out there that you might use. Something like Myers-Briggs if they need to, different things. And then you're there in the follow-on to help with the application, or someone is there, so that there's, misunderstandings don't become grievances, they get cleared up, the communication, the conversation continues. So there's a continuity, which in the family system constellation, unless you're a family therapist, and then the family shows up, and you do a constellation with them, but you also have some interviews and some post time together. So that might be one similarity as a family therapist. But in terms of just working the workshop, there's a big distinction. Questions, comment about that? Yeah.
When it comes to working with the system,
Yeah.
Is it the way it works is with the actual individuals, or there's representatives, so the issues with the feelings and the drama can be worked ahead and not.
So what's really fun about organizational stuff, you don't have to even say we're doing a constellation. If you have the relationship with them, you simply, and depending on what you